Mind have an
We'd have to
objection?
add it to the agenda.
Yeah, well, I'd like to have a debate.
We would have to?
I did have a question, and
Okay.
even that,
Sorry, it's an appropriation.
even that I work for the department, it gets so confusing sometimes, but like, say the other night, we had 8 runs, medical runs, and that pull down, gross back, and all that hassle, that was all that. How much does that really disrupt the extra shifts, as far as the 12 and the 24, when you have that many calls and that many hours that you have to spend on so many calls? What does that do to that type of systems?
Your downtime is limited then. So,
On a 24.
yeah,
right.
you start running the fatigue factors. That's what I think what you're asking.
Right. And then does more pay come into that if they're on their downtime, then you have to force them to,
Depends on what, but no,
or is that
Oh.
depends on?
it can be negotiated. I can't say no. It's
Right, that's why I-
negotiated.
right.
So we've been to 24-hour departments. It's negotiated.
There's a lot of
The
unknowns.
one we were at, it was 8 hours dedicated to police work, 8 hours downtime, and then like standby time, which they were sleeping technically. So,
Well, there's
but they
also-
could be
yeah.
disrupted. They could be disrupted at any of that time.
Right, right. yeah.
Well, one of the departments, if they were forced to work the road for
They got extra
low manning, they got basically overtime. They got extra pay for having to go over, was it 8 hours or 12 hours?
Well, they were splitting them. They were making them work. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were making them
So
work
if you
12
work-
hours. They
yeah.
got 4 hours overtime.
If you were supposed to be on your downtime and you got called out or needed to be on patrol, you got like 4 hours of overtime.
Yep, they split
And
between
it's
two
just,
guys.
yeah, it would, yeah.
So I've
Again, this
all-
is a city that is our size, same size department, but, a quarter of the amount of calls, I
Tenth
mean,
of the
a
arrests.
tenth of the arrests. So when you try to fit that square department into a circle like ours, it just, they don't fit. To get a true it's like, oh, that works well for them, and it does. And like you read the report, so it works well for them. It would not work well for us. It just wouldn't. That's a city that, I think West Bloomfield or Bloomfield Hills, you can't really compare the two communities.
So also would make collective bargaining more complicated with all the different scenarios you'd have to set up, right? Or no?
I mean, it's a one-time process. And again, I'm
Okay.
telling you, it's not I know I feel like I'm fighting you guys on this and I'm against it. I'm really trying to tell you, if the unions want it and we want to go to 12 hours, or any shift, I'm just telling you, these are the facts, this is my opinion to you. And how that moves forward, that's up to the unions and up to collective bargaining and the city manager. But I'm just telling you, the 24s is a bad solution in my eyes at this point.
Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of questions. For purposes of giving us information to get us close to the financial cost, I understand that it's collective bargaining and that's part of it. Oh. Sorry. I understand that it's collective bargaining, but is there any type of model or other examples we can use that can be presented to us so that we can have an idea of what it might cost?
If you look at wages, FICA, all those line items, there's 29 of us, or there's 28 of us, those numbers don't change. Those numbers are the numbers. The number that changes is really overtime. That's the number, that's why I put it to you in hours, and I could do the math and put a number to it. It's just these numbers, those are overtime hours. I can put an average rate of pay, but, you got PSO and the low end and the high end. Those are hours. So if you look at 5,000 hours costs us $366,000 in overtime, 9,000 is gonna, and I could put a number to it if it's, if that'll help you, but
Yes, I think it would.
nothing else changes. Your salaries, your employees, your MERS payments, all those, it's one line item. It's the overtime number that, I can convert that and send it to you that's not a.
Then my next question is if we decided, just for a kind of a trial run, what steps would we need to take to coordinate that with your department?
What shift model?
Well, we could try 24 first and see how that works. If it doesn't work, at least we know.
why would you want to switch to 12-hour shift model or the 24-hour? Did you say 24?
24 first, to see how it would run, to see if, when we did implement it, if in fact it would turn out to be a disaster, right? Or what the pros and cons would be as it relates to our particular demographic. Obviously, if it's not working and the morale's low and it's a safety issue. But I just figured it would be something that maybe we could talk about in terms of just implementing for a short period of time and see how it goes. If not, then try to 12. And the reason for that is I'm very, very concerned about, obviously, the financial issues that we have coming down the pipe here for the long term, right? So I'm just trying to come up with other ideas, that we can kind of present or that we can explore, that we've explored, because, this is a huge part of our budget, right? And so I think it's important that we try to go down these other roads. So to see if there's another way to have some cost-saving measures.
Well, the one union has settled their contract. If you guys made a motion to do this, we would have to get approval from the unions to reopen their contracts to work out the details of this switchover. Yeah, that is entirely up to you. If that's the direction the board wants to go to the unions and determine if they are willing to open up their contract to try this. Again, these are my thoughts. How if that's the direction you guys want to go, I would bring it back to the membership and they would take a vote that, hey, let's sit down and.
And it may not work
Yes.
out. It's just, I think we need to look at some other things, that's all. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but I think we need to at least look at some other things.
I think one of the only things that bother me about this, I think the idea is okay. The thing that I'm concerned about is when they say the policing, the proactive policing, the community, and the amount of officers out there. The residents are expecting, and they've always gotten top-notch police. When they call, there's 3 cars there. When they call an ambulance, there's an ambulance and 2 cars there. If that type of service is going to affect the different types, I think we have to consider that. If it works on a 12-hour, hey, I'm like the director. If the PSOs want it, and I'm all for it and supporting what they want. But we're not, my opinion is we don't want to lose that community support
I
that
agree.
we have for the police and fire.
And the issue, if you look at it just simply, you break it up into 12, and there's all different ways of doing it. When you break it up, however you break it up, you're going to come into work and it's going to be your downtime. You're going to sleep and be down like a fireman for the first 8 or 12, and the guys on the midnight shift are. It works in my opinion, for fire departments well. Does not work for a smaller police department. It doesn't. But if the board wants to take that direction, I'm not going to be I'm going to give you my opinion, and then I'm going to try to work it out with the sergeants and the public safety officers. I have no problem with that.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just did some cursory math. If 5,000 hours is $366,000. I divided that, it comes up to about $73 an hour. Multiply the 89.45, your overtime budget would be $650,000. Increased by about 190. Oh,
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Moransky was there.
Oh, was everyone else done? Okay.
No, Ms. Blanky's not, but she.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Shoot. No, it was, I circled back to this because of I'm so sorry. Are both 12 and 24s feasible with the staffing model we have in terms of meeting any legal obligations we have?
The 2 in and 2 out rule.
Not even that rule, that,
Our
that-
minimum manning, yeah.
okay.
Our problem is a relief factor.
No, I get all that. I just want to make sure, I'm with Councilwoman Kalka, we have to try and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And what I want to make sure before we discuss anything, and obviously we have to get the buy-ins, is are both feasible with 29 sworn officers?
Yes, both are feasible.
And the data regarding overtime in every other city in your report is that all of their overtime budgets were less per employee, you would agree?
Yes, yeah.
And some were substantially less per employee. When you broke it down, if you take 29 officers in our budget at 366, current at 8 hours, and center lines at 21 at 171, or farm, whatever they are, assuming the math is right, per employee, it's substantially less, their overtime budgets, correct?
Yes, but
And none of those departments indicated that their overtime budgets went up.
That's not true.
I didn't see that in here.
Centerline did.
Centerlines,
Centerline said he saw an initial drop, and after the euphoria went away, they started to use their time off, so they had to backfill, so their overtime increased, actually.
but did it go up beyond what it was? Okay, and that's what the director who was anti-it said? Okay. Did you guys talk to any of the finance directors in the departments or the city managers, or if, I don't know if they all have city managers or whatever the head figure of the day-to-day operations is, to determine from a financial perspective if what the chief was telling you was correct?
no, I took them at their word, these police chiefs. I hope that was not a concern at all for me.
And if we were to, I guess my question to you, if you had a say or a vote between 12s and 24s, what would your preference be?
12s.
Okay, it's funny because last time you were here, you said 24s hand down. Like you left, no, not you, you didn't speak, sorry, Bisbee. You left here saying it'll have to be 24s, it's the only way we can do training. You were adamant that it was gonna, so that's why I actually was like, okay, I'm gonna just focus on 24s, because I thought that was your knee-jerk gut. So I thought 12s is off the table, because either we can't financially do it, or whatever. So I'm just wondering what changed.
The money. If you, 12 hours undoubtedly, that number that I gave you, and he said 600,000, it's gonna be more than that. That was just fire training. If you are looking at saving money, there, it is, I will guarantee you, there is no doubt in my mind that 12 hours will cost you substantially more.
Wait, then 24s?
Yes.
Then why is 12s your preference?
Because of employee production.
Right, because
I'll
I,
say, every administrator says the same thing. You switch from 8 to either 12s or 24s, your productivity just tanks.
Okay.
All their productivity.
Your-
is gone.
your police
You're getting
officers-
minimal work out of your officers.
right, you're working a 24-hour shift.
But they're not
Is it
working in a car 24 straight. I mean, and this is for the residents, because I thought we all thought, oh my gosh, how can you drive around in a car for 24 hours? That's
I didn't think
insane.
that.
We
I
all
didn't
thought
think-
that. So let's just,
Just for the
no,
record.
no, but
I didn't think that.
it's also not legally allowed for someone to be, you are not allowed legally to work more than how many hours? 16, correct? No, by law.
There's departments that have worked 18, that, yeah.
Okay, so you're not aware what the law is regarding?
Ours
like-
is 16.
Right.
Yeah, so other agencies that work the 12s, they force them over to 6, so they're working 18s. And they've got to be back in those next 2
Okay.
hours, come back for their next
6
12
hours
shift.
later.
Yeah, and there's violating some serious OSHA violations there, but just so that the residents are aware, the way a 24-hour shift works is you are not on patrol 24 hours. You are a period of police officer, a period of fire training, fire department, and then a period of standby to be used accordingly. And you are working how many days per month?
9.
9 days per month, okay.
It's a 27-day cycle.
Okay, just for easy math, 9 days a month. assuming you take 1 or 2 days off here or there, as most people do. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Blanky.
I just want to add my 2 cents. I think you've worked with councils through the years, and we all have, where the number one, we're always trying to put the residents first, and we know that, and that's why they buy houses here. We went through a dismantling of your department, unfortunately, and I'm not necessarily proud of that, but that's what happened. I'm not necessarily enamored with the thought that the residents are paying a higher tax, okay, but it's a necessity to keep our head above water. I think what's going on here, regardless of what any other community does, I think what you said, Mike, earlier, people are afraid to drive through here. That's always been our signature moment. You know, we're proactive and all that. So I understand for the data and the finance and the history, we have to go into other cities and see what they're doing. I get it. But I kind of deal up here from the fabric of the town. I kind of feel that it's like with the dispatch, I thought it was terrible that we got rid of it, and I was the only one that felt that way. But I've lived here long enough to feel this. I don't need to necessarily have a figure in front of me. What I'm saying is, you keep saying in your opinion, and we all respect that, but you're undercutting the fact of your experience. You both are the head of this department, and I respect that, and everybody up here does. We really do. I think what we're trying to do is, prior to going into the budget and all, you know, we're still not, you know, on solid ground, and I think with the figures and so on and so forth, that's what residents are expecting to see. But yet, again, you know, you have the hard job, and that's why you get paid the big bucks. You have to balance the safety of the community, the morale of the officers, and the finances of this whole thing. So I think truly, that's where we all kind of are going before we really get into the budget. You know, just an idea. And most importantly, the morale of these guys. You know, you say that. You both were in cars forever. You know, I get it. You know, and you said you would do 110% what they felt. You know, maybe that's a good place to start, to get an idea. Morale is important. There seems to be a lack of it. And just please leave with this thought. The word, you know, fighting. I've seen inner fighting within this city lately, and different. I'm not even going to specify, but I think we're all here for the right reasons and the right goal. And if we all put the city first, which I think we do for the most part, we will come up with the right solutions. So thank you for listening to me. It's just my objective on this. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Baranski.
I'm sorry, I remembered my question now. Mr. Denault, how would it work, obviously, if we wanted as a council to agree, to vote to explore with our unions an option? What's the process? Understanding, I mean, obviously, even though, one contract's up for collective bargaining, one is only for certain parts. We can do that in between contract negotiations, correct?
Correct.
And so how does it work? Like, give me the hypothetical. What do we do if we want to proceed with one of these paths?
So I think the answer to your question is if council voted to proceed with exploring one of these paths, it would be a resolution or a motion directing the Public Safety Department to explore it, and then to designate what that is that you'd like them to explore, and give them direction in terms of how to explore it, I suppose. And they would come back to you and say, we've explored it, and here's where it's at. And would you like us to proceed further, or would you like us to try any more, or you know, there's nothing more to explore. We've hit a roadblock. You know, they'd have to report back to you as to whether there's even any interest in following through.
From the unions?
Correct.
And would that be a vote of 4 of the council?
It would.
Because it's not, it's just.
It's not an appropriation of
investigation.
anything, it's just a direction.
I would like to make a motion that the city explore the option of going to 24-hour shifts to improve morale, preserve new hires, make it enticing, and hopefully save money.
We have a motion on the floor.
Just to proceed. Is that what?
Yeah, so to figure out if we can do it. Yeah, it's not to do it, because,
Can I just make a comment? You can vote, but you said to improve morale.
yep.
Are you is there a morale problem in the public safety department that I'm not aware of?
We are told that morale among city employees is low,
Who told you this?
the city manager.
In the public safety department? The public safety officers?
I will repeat again, we have been told repeatedly that the morale among city employees
Oh,
is low. I have not had specific conversations about various departments, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason, let me step back, because that's not fair to you. By no means am trying to, but your report constantly commented on how much every other department's employees loved it. And so to me, I'm thinking, okay, I get the fear of change, and oh my God. And I remember when you guys talked about it years ago, I'm like, we can't go on 12s. How are we going to do childcare? And now I'm thinking, holy shamoly, you would have only worked how many days a month?
But-
The fear of the unknown. So by no means, don't take my comments to be a reflection of a criticism of you or the
Well, that's-
potential of
that's
your employees.
fine.
But that's what we're told. And remember, I started with that.
I'm the public safety director, and you're telling me you want to look into 12s to increase morale. and you're-
24s.
Or 24s, and I told you that I've talked to the unions and they didn't want to. And again, if they change their mind, if that's what the direction they want, but I just feel like the cart is leading the horse. And normally, the officers during collective bargaining, if they do not want to work a particular shift or want to try a shift model, it's done through collective bargaining for a reason. You're talking about improving morale, and I find it's backwards to me, and again, you guys, in my opinion of 24s, I've told you that, it will turn the public safety department and the way we police upside down. I just want to make that clear.
I'll tell you why I picked 24s, because you told me it cost less than 12s. So I can achieve 2 objectives. I can retain awesome new candidates and recruits, because we have how many people retiring over the next 5 years? You 2 are gone. Every officer I know is gone. And now I've got these new guys who are amazing, but how do we get them to stay? And that's my fear. That's my
Your fear, but
I
you've
live
never
here.
talked to me about this.
Well, I've
You're
made it
talking
crystal
about
clear, I campaigned on
recruiting.
this.
What's that?
I've
Talking
campaigned on
about
this.
recruiting, that we have these issues. You guys are fabricating problems and issues that don't exist. The people want to switch shifts. I talked to the unions, they don't. You're talking about morale. The morale in the public safety department is down. That's news to me. I've never talked but to 2 of you ever about the public safety department. You've never come in, none of you have talked to me about this. And you're coming in a meeting saying that morale is down, people want to switch. I'm telling you, 24 changes the way we do policing here, and you guys.
Well, the residents have told us they don't want to pay the PA 33. The residents have told us that they want us to figure out how to save money.
Okay.
We've been told by your boss that morale is down. So I have to take things at face value. I am not by any means trying to imply, but because the
Well, that's-
report reflects that morale at other departments is amazing, and your report indicated that you had a tough time getting candidates, qualified candidates to apply. Other departments.
All I
was it
need, when I
Bloomfield Hill
hire
said they're
one, all I
one of
need is
them.
one.
Well, the one we hired can't even be, when is he going to be ready?
We hired 2, yeah. We can't even
A
predict that
great
now.
candidate.
Right, so
Yeah.
that doesn't do us any good.
Right.
So that, I shouldn't have, explained why I was doing it, because I didn't mean for you to take it as a criticism, because it
No,
wasn't
and
meant to be.
I'm not upset.
But I was
It's
trying
not
to.
about the criticism.
Yeah.
You guys understand, every line item on the public safety budget will not change except for one. It's the overtime number, the 366, the FICA, the salaries, all that's going to be the same. The overtime number is what we're talking about, the 366. If you keep us at the manning that we're at, it's a 44 percentage reduction. It goes from 340 or 360 was the number. It's almost in half. But again, and I don't want to, I don't want to fight this, because maybe the guys want to switch to 24s, and if that's you guys go ahead and vote. I mean, I made my opinion and known to you, and
As I said, I would be interested in exploring a 12, but it worries me about the 24 with the statements that were made. Councilman Lessig.
Thank you. It's been a long time. Well, you mentioned the 30, I'll just start at the bottom. $366,000 was the overtime number. You said all the other numbers wouldn't change. Does the 366 include supplemental employment taxes, FUTA, FICA, workman's comp, and Medicare? Or
No.
those go up as well? So there are hidden costs to any change we do. That you said the 24 and 12 will cost more than 8.
I don't think
in
the
terms of overtime.
24 I think there would be an overtime
You know what,
savings.
let's just, I'm going to withdraw that question. Really, the point is, I'm up here and I want to be safe in my community. I don't believe that I want a public safety officer that is on a 24-hour shift carrying a gun with unpredictable hours and unpredictable incidents. And I'm not ready to go open up the contract with the union. We haven't settled the sergeant's contract, and we have another matter regarding public safety right now on another thing. So I don't see where this is coming from at this moment. There was a question or the report from 24-hour shifts. What year was that from? Because I didn't get a copy of that.
Reference 2018 Manning, so.
2018 Manning.
It was an unpublished, it was
I have never seen that report.
it was
And
never a
so-
report. A public safety officer, they worked on it together, was never released. It was never, and it went to different hands. Dave worked on it for a while, then it went over here, and I
Well,
don't even.
I'll cut to the chase. Was it ever presented to council?
No,
No.
no.
Then
Never-
then I'm
It was never even presented
completely.
to the Director of Public Safety. 'Cause It
What?
was never completed. It was never completed, it was never presented to the Director of Public Safety.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I've never seen it. So I can't comment on it. And I think acting on incomplete information, I'm a no vote. So thank you.
Councilwoman,
Thank you. So, looking at this, we obviously are trying to save money. That's the whole purpose of this. And I understand that's not the only focus here, clearly, because if it turns out that it's not the best decision or it doesn't work in our community, that's fine. Maybe another idea is what can be done to limit or reduce overtime? And what ideas can we put in place? What other, to keep things status quo? I know that right now we're doing well with that because we have the proper manning. I understand that. And so overall that helps. But I mean, I think the whole idea here is we're trying to continue to shave the budgets as much as we can and shave the amount of overtime that is being paid out. I understand things come up, but this is why we're looking at, we're going this far in terms of overhauling, because it's important that we look at everything. It's not intended to be, that we know better than you, because we clearly don't. I mean, we're up here, but we want to make sure that we turn over all the stones. I hope you can respect that from our perspective, because this isn't easy. You have 30 years of experience doing this. And I respect both of you immensely. So this isn't personal, it's not supposed,
Oh, I don't- no.
to be that way.
Absolutely
It's
not.
just that the residents are paying money, and we have, a very small community, and our tax base is not that high. So we have to do our due diligence, and if it turns out that the 24 does not work, and 12s is too expensive, then we have to go back to 8s. But what else are we gonna do? We're not gonna stop in terms of trying to figure out how to save money. But at this point, because we are overhauling everything and looking at everything and turning over every single stone, it's important that everybody get on board with this and understand that this isn't, it's not personal, it's not a dig on some, the way we've been doing things. If the way we've been doing things had been saving us money and didn't get us in this position to begin with, we would be asking. But at this point, we really need to, and I think it's important overall across the board. Just because we've done it a certain way for so many years doesn't mean that that's the most economic and effective way to continue to do it. And who knows? I mean, I always look at it the glass is half full instead of half empty. So I always look at the positive of it. You just never know. You just never know. I mean, you just never know. So I would second that motion if it has been seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I will bring it out to the audience for comments. Anybody in the audience like to comment? Step forward, please. Name and address for the record, please.
Paul Salufo, 316400. I think it's a mistake, especially what's going on in the world. We've got a recession coming probably because of what's going on in the world. We need to lessen up on some of these ideas of changing things in midstream, because what could happen is something that terribly, terribly wrong with either the way things are policed, or we find out that we don't have enough people, and then the thing really skyrockets. I think the residents need something more than to see this kind of, I guess I got to call it what I see it. It's somewhat badgering of our director on this staffing issue, instead of, I would like to hear all the reports of what this police department does with what they've got. They don't really have a lot. There's only one community out there that you can even compare it to, and the thing is, they have reserve officers. We don't have reserve officers. As far as I know, as long as I've lived here, we haven't. I would urge council to be extra cautious on changing anything right now, especially with what's going on in the world. I think our residents deserve that. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, and this certainly is definitely overturning the apple cart. So he's given your opinion. He is the director. I would like to think that carries some weight. Maybe this council doesn't look at it that way. When I was on council, it did carry some weight, because none of you up there, as far as I know, have ever been in those shoes. So I would just like you guys to really seriously think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I bring up the council for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Aye.
Are you a no or a nay?
No.
That's 4-2.
It passes. Motion passes
To explore.
to explore.
To explore.
To explore 24.
Explore.
What does explore mean?
Don, explain that.
It's 6.
That's why I asked the question.
All right, so
I'd like to reiterate that, Don.
I'm sure administration will have to work with Director Pettis to talk more about what it means, but obviously for tonight's purposes, it's directive to the administration and the director to explore with the union groups whether or not they would be interested in negotiating that. And if so, obviously, we would engage Mr. Fantuzzi, who happens to be here, to help with that process if they agree to reopen and talk it through. Obviously, a lot of detail work would follow, but right now, it's simply to report back to council that there is or isn't an ability to even get there, right? Fair?
Thank you, as always.
Hold on, we got a question.
Yeah, we're still in presentations, so I have a question. Mr. Fantuzzi does not work for free, and I assume that that would, and we were already over on our legal budget this year, so that would require an appropriation of funds to explore this option. So what are we going to do about that?
Why would he need to do it?
Mr. Fantuzzi is our legal
I'm aware who he
representative
is,
for our,
but why would he need to explore that?
he's the lawyer.
Not reference the lawyer,
You just mentioned Mr. Fantuzzi.
I think as part and parcel of other conversations. that-
Right, I think you're just asking us to go to the union and say, is this something we're interested
First
in?
start, that's where I'd start.
Because beyond that, right, and beyond that, there's nothing that's in our hands, it's back to the administration.
That's what I want to make clear.
And collective bargaining, yeah.
Why couldn't we just end it in 12 and 24 and see what they pick?
Well, because they start there, they don't finish there. See what I'm saying? And I don't want you to keep coming back month and month, and now all of a sudden, we're in September, and we're still talking about this with zero resolution because we've had to go this way and this way and this way and this way. I want to keep our eye on one path. That's why, and I listened very clearly to what you said, and cost and recruitment and viability and all of the things combined, to me, that's why I picked 24s, and it's kind of shocked because I was always in favor of 12s, but that's just what it is. So I didn't think the lawyer needed to do separate work above and beyond what he would already be doing as part and parcel of the outstanding contract negotiations, but, what do I know?
No, I think council should be advised if there's any other fees that have to come along with
Absolutely.
lawyer fees or professional. I understand that this is just a explore. That's exactly what the word means. Look into and get some information, and that's it. Right?
Yep. Just explore.
Councilwoman Blanky.
I've never been known to be politically correct on a lot of things, but I do know where you guys sit. I sat there, I get it, and I have a lot of respect. You know that. This isn't about respect or, I believe that many good points were made. For our satisfaction, because you have to understand, even though you haven't heard what we've heard, now you guys are not rookies. You've been around this town long enough to know that people talk. And we hear things because we were elected if someone's discontent, right? Am I right on that?
You're 100% correct.
Okay. So we were elected, and that's part of this whole thing, is doing our due diligence when people are complaining. They're not going to come up to you and complain, Michael Pettis, and you know that rarely. No, right. Am I right?
I don't think
Seniors
that-
wouldn't complain about a
Oh.
van ride because
think-
they're afraid that government would take away their van ride. So they're not going to deal with you. But when I go to church and I go to Myers, yeah, and I'm a friend. I'm a resident. I enjoy both your friendships. Is there any possible way as a solution for you guys to, and it sounds almost like junior high, but maybe it gets to our problem. Can the men and women be asked on a casual basis?
I'll do a poll.
Yeah,
I mean,
do a vote
I'm
again.
just gonna do a
How
vote.
does that sound, everybody?
I would think it'd have to be.
Yeah, that's what I would think you would
That's
do.
how the union, right?
Understand it.
Yeah, we'll just
I
do a
mean-
simple vote.
Something, not to interfere with the contractual guidelines or anything like that.
Yeah, this is completely separate, not even contractual. This is, yeah.
Well,
You know
how
what
far,
I'm-
but there is a question, if they do want to explore this, then the next step would have to be collective bargaining with,
Of course.
Well, we're in that process
But-
anyway with some of
but-
it, so.
It's perfect timing.
Mike, no,
Again, I'm not
and it's
trying to fight
just-
you. I
no.
gave you guys my opinion, and I'm not fighting you on this. I'm really not.
You've said fight 6 times, and you don't fight. I've known you your whole life. So don't say fight. We're not
I don't want
fighting,
to argue.
debating.
Yeah,
We're-
I
we're
gave you my
agreeing to
opinion.
disagree.
I don't think it's good for the city.
But
If that's the direction, then that's where we go.
no, and you are. You're like that. I get it. We sat here again, and not to repeat it, the dispatch. We went back and forth on all that, and we had different angles and different fact and theory and whatever. Came up with a decision. As Councilwoman Bransky said, change is hard. As Mr. Salufo said, the world's like a nightmare right now. I understand all that. Why can't we just go to the source? I'm just using simple common sense. That's what we're trying to do. You do your job. I don't want your job, but morale-wise, if we keep hearing this over and over, I think it's something we're feeling we have to address. And I'm sorry, but I would do the same if you were on the other side, you know?
Well, when people come to you about morale and about issues, it would be in the best interest of this city to direct them to me.
Oh, yes.
Because I think I know this most of these officers pretty well, and I find it troubling that you are telling me this, and I am not hearing this from my officers, that they don't want to come to me for what reason, or I find that it's,
Okay, but
maybe I'm blind to it.
no. It isn't just it's your department inclusive of what's going on. I'm not, and Mike, I would never ask, oh, what did Mike Pettis do? Because actually, I don't care what you do. I don't care what, I'm not asking for specifics, but that is part of what we do. You know, we have friendships within this role. You know that, but we have a little more class, I think, and professionalism just to say, well, go see that's what we say. That's what I would have hoped people said when I was sitting there. You get
Right.
it. I understand their integrity.
I think I'm pretty approachable, that's why I find
Yes,
it kind of
yes,
odd.
and we all do. But I'm just talking from my heart.
I just want to close I think this, Explore has to be simple. I mean, I've done my own poll, talked to a lot of them. Do they give me a right answer because I'm a coworker with them in the department, or do they give me an answer because I sit up here? So I've always taken what they've said, try to figure it out, and I kind of have an idea what they've said, but I'm going to let this flow out and see what happens. That's what they have to do. Everyone's got to be honest here and just really what we have to do. So go forward and do what you need to do, find out and come back with it.
Is that all you want, is a individual poll from both unions? And what else? If they say, they both said, yes, let's explore. If they say no, I will come back and tell you that. If they say yes, let's sit down and try to negotiate an agreement.
Exactly.
It would be
You
nice,
you want us to start that.
I think it would be nice to get a percentage of,
We need some direction from
Yeah.
Mr. Denault. Sorry, not to cut you off, Mayor.
some
Just,
percentage.
this is going on way too long, like.
It's just,
I think that is when you then go to, I'm assuming, the city manager who seeks direction from city attorney about what the next steps are. I do not need you to wait a month to come back and say, they voted yes, now what? I mean, you're the department head, and he is running the day-to-day operations. So I would defer after hours to sit down with Mr. O'Neill and say, what do we do, assuming they say yes? Am I incorrect?
That cuts out.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, I envision that at some point within the next few weeks, you would get some kind of a report indicating the discussions were fruitful or the discussions were resounding, we're not interested, or something in between. And from there, we will need direction from city council. So it would come to you in the next meeting, whichever meeting you want to put it on.
And I don't even think we need names, do you?
Councilman Lester.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Want to make sure I'm clear on something.
I
monkey,
just wanted to clear that.
Come on, guys.
I just want to make sure we're clear on something. There was a vote to explore, which is basically take a poll of the union employees and see if they would be interested in talking about this.
24.
And then there was a further discussion about we don't want to wait a month to come back, but that is all we did was if we directed these gentlemen to ask a question and bring that answer back in a month or whatever next meeting we have. I just want to make sure, because that's where things go awry, is when there is a month-long gap and then people infer that something more should have happened. And I want to make sure, because we are not reopening negotiations between now and April. Is that correct, Mr. Denault?
That is correct, Mr. Lesich.
Based on the motion?
The closest we would ever get, I can envision, if they're having productive conversations, the closest we would ever get is, I could envision the union saying, we'd be interested, but we'd have a couple of things we'd want to talk about. And they might put a topic list together of some kind. So that's about as far as I could see it going. They report back to administration, administration reports to you,
That-
and then we discuss again at another.
That would be entirely appropriate because we're exploring what that
Absolutely,
might look
absolutely.
like. But you're bringing back an answer to us on what their interest was and perhaps some questions about how that might look. Thank you.
Councilwoman Baranski?
Right. What I'm assuming, if they said, no, it's easy, you're done. If they say yes, it's, oh, yeah, and these are the factors, so we'd want to be paid for this, and we'd want to have training like that. Just the same as all of the pre-collective bargaining negotiations that go on. That's what I expected explore to mean. No binding agreements on either side, but not, do you want to do it? Yes, April 9th or whatever our meeting is. Okay, they want to do it, now what? You guys know what that means.
Is that just the two unions? How about the lieutenant's union?
You told us you weren't going on 24s or 12s.
Well, I mean, you guys are guiding this, I'm just asking.
I took you at your word. You said we could not do it. That's what you
We're off
told us.
subject now, can we,
If we could, it might increase our overtime budget.
okay, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'll call citizen participation on agenda items. If you have something you'd like to talk about that you cannot be here for the meeting, now's the time to come forward and ask your questions or speak. I
You
see
have your hand up in the back? Did you want to come up here?
he's on the agenda.
Got it, okay. You can't, can he do it now?
No.
Oh, he can't, he can't.
No, that's
Sorry.
okay, well, we moved on, thank you.
Procedural rules.
Yep.
You speak at the end.
She's on the agenda.
Oh, we.
I forgot you already asked that, you already asked. You did.
Consent agenda. At this time, I need a motion if there were any call-outs or any findings. Otherwise, I need a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Request for council action. Approve the reappointment of Sandy Decker to the Assessing Board of Review for a term of office to expire December 31st, 2022. Councilwoman Shornack.
I would like to make the motion to approve the reappointment of Sandra Decker to the Assessing Board of Review for a term of office to expire on December 31st, 2022.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions from the audience? Back to council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And thank you
Motion
for
carries. Is Ms. Decker here? No? Well, we thank you very much for your participation.
for your willingness to serve the city.
Item B is changed, so we'll go to C, consideration of approval of resolution granting on-premises tavern liquor license to Free Play Pinball Arcade LLC. Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As you are aware, the city of Fraser has one quota liquor license left. There's been requests made for it over the years. Council has not, to this date, approved it. Free Pinball Arcade is requesting for that license. And it's that simple. You have the information. There's no background checks that are required because the LCC does all that now. All they need is a resolution from the council awarding that last quota license to them.
Councilwoman Baranski.
I have a couple of questions, learning curve questions. If, and I hope this does not happen, and I think they're here, so I fully want them to succeed. It's a really cool place. This type of license, if we allow them to, if we grant it to them and they go out of business, does the license come back to the city?
No.
It's theirs forever. And we only have one left, and we're never getting another one, correct?
Now,
And they have to come to us before going to the Liquor Control Commission?
if you, we're required, if you want to give it to them, to pass the resolution that's in your packet, granting them the quota license, and then they go before the LCC. If they pass muster with the LCC, you'll never see them again.
If they don't get it, do we get it back? If LCC doesn't approve it, so
Oh,
it's
yes,
conditional
yes,
on that? Got it.
yes, yes.
And then, who else, I guess, has applied and been denied by the city? I mean, I'm
Well,
assuming,
Buffalo Wild Wings years ago applied. and that's why they're in Clinton Township.
Oh,
Here.
And there, we had the VFW recently. We had burgers,
oh, Eclipse.
Lips Burgers, and there were a couple other, I can't remember.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, I know that our department used to always do our own background, because I don't know what the LLC really does. They usually did a pretty good background and gave us their opinion and based on past history. And I don't have any problem with our department doing the background just to satisfy council. But not understanding what LLC does, I don't have a clue on what type of backgrounds they do, so that would be my position at this point. Councilwoman Blanky.
Mr. O'Neill, you mentioned the VFW over here. What is the status on that? Did they not apply again, or how?
No, they were able to work with the LCC and put some locks on some certain doors, and they were allowed to do what they wanted to do, and they don't need our license.
Oh, wonderful.
They
Okay,
just file for the permits all the time.
good to know.
Put a doorway in and a lock on it or something, and they were happy.
Good, I'm glad to hear they're happy. Good, thank you.
Is the petitioner here tonight who'd like to speak, Please step forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
The business address?
Yep.
Okay.
And your address too, please.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Joe Kaliba. I'm the owner and manager. And thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing me to be here.
Could you move that microphone a little closer?
This last hour or
There
so
we
was,
go.
this last hour was very, very entertaining on the mind for what you guys have to do and go through. So it was kind of exciting. But my name again is Joe Kaliba, and my home residence is in Chesterfield, 46830 Jans Drive, and we have the business over here on Utica Road, 34830. And we plan to be here to stay, which is why I'm asking a nice kind favor for the license so I could purchase the building. We've done a lot for the community since we've been here in the 3 months, and more to come. We do lose a lot of corporate events, and a lot of people and a lot from the Fraser hockey arena, because they just want it. We just want people to be able to come and have a few beers and some wine and whatnot. And we'd like to be a staple in this community and be loyal to it, because well, we get people all the way from 20, 30 minutes west of Saginaw, coming into your city. And we've just scheduled now, we give you a short list of some things that we have been doing and have coming, but like the City of Berkeley Park and Recreations, they're scheduling an event to come here in your city. So I think that the kids, the parents, the grandparents, they're all side by side finally enjoying stuff together. It's a very high-end establishment, and we tend to keep it that way, and put out some bike racks for the kids in the summertime. And we would just rather spend our money putting forth into the business and helping the community, rather than, I feel, we will be burning, and you guys just had a 2-hour conversation on that, burning, $50,000 on buying a liquor license from someone, or being forced to, I'd have to then look at our best interest, which would probably end up being purchasing the license from an individual along with another facility. So that's something that I wouldn't want to entertain, because we love the city. But we'd have to then, in turn, go with an option that would be feasible for us. But we would, we don't foresee us, things have been, we've had, I'd say now over, I'd have to really look, but to know I'm on a safe side, over 3,000 patrons in the facility since we've opened on November 22nd. And I don't know if you've ever, you could basically go, I mean, it's amazing some of the comments that, I mean, because we put our heart and soul into the facility. And you guys are always all welcome to come, but with the VIP plan, of course. So, well, we just take pride in what we do, and we just know that it was needed in this time today of kids just separated from their parents on cell phones, and you come into the facility, if there's a cell phone out, people are taking pictures of the group. I mean, the only time I really see that is like in the movie theater, and like court, right? You know, so at least this is something fun. But we'd like to just put forth into, you know, building the business more and doing the fundraisers that we do. And we, you know, we've had quite a few people come in with autism, and they just love the place. And we'd like to start doing some stuff with autism. I don't know if we have like Ford Motor Company on there, but Ford Global that does the they raise hundreds of millions of dollars for charity. They're picking this location for this year and to do some of their Michigan work. I mean, for the 3 months that we've been out, are very recognized. Actually, I just had a text on my phone from the radio station, WRIF, which, you know, they're, you know, we all kind of work together as a family. They said, Joe, we're going to plug the arcade at 7:30 and 8:30. So I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna hear that one, but I appreciate it.
Okay. Do you guys serve any food at that location at this point?
Well, no, we do order in dining, but we go through, I mean, people are constantly bringing in pizzas and stuff from the local restaurants. See, that's glad you asked that. So that really feeds the other businesses, and they know, you know, hey, Joe from Preplay, Joe from Preplay, whatever. All, you know, people that come in, it's wristbands, so that you can leave and go eat, and then come back, or you can order in while you're there. And either way, they eat from the local restaurants. And what we'd like to do is, you know, have them be able to have a few beers or wine or something and kind of keep them there so that way they do it. But we had our soft opening, and we went through 60 pizzas. And Genesis Credit Union yesterday had their corporate party for their 5 branches. They all they did, to be honest with you, they did Green Lantern, but that's up to them, right? Because I don't think that's, you know, right. But I just wanted to make that clear. They have their own choice. But I think they got, you know, 15 pizzas from there. You know, I've seen, you know, a lot of people do that, Bad Brad's, but, you know, that's another thing. Maybe in the future, we'd be interested to find out what the community needs and maybe have a second endeavor.
Okay. Councilwoman Shornack was next.
Oh, I just wanted to actually answer your question, because Wayne did send it in our packet, that we no longer do, our team no longer does the background checks. It is now done through the states directly, so
I
we.
know that.
Okay,
But my comment was, I don't know how involved, what they do in depth for their background work before we actually got a report from the department, and if they would find something that was in the past that just didn't jive with what was being presented, we always acted on it. That's
yeah,
all.
I would just hope the state would do their due diligence more so than, I said hope.
Right. Councilwoman
It'd
Coker.
require, you know, that finger scan. I'm sure they would do a full background check.
I'm sure too.
I think they even do a financial background check.
Yeah, that's one thing that our department does.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Kaliba. I just have a couple questions. Do you have any plan to serve food in-house over there?
Yes, we would like to expand at some point.
Okay, and is it going to be in the same facility?
Yes.
Or, okay, and what kind of food are you talking about? Like sit-down or just like bar food or?
Well, we'd like to start with pizza. That's the most popular, and that'd be something a little bit easier transition. But right now, we have a dining area, which is amazing. It's like 36 feet long, and it seats 40. And then we have like bar tables, like where people can congregate of seats of 4, and that's another 20. So we currently have seating for 60.
Okay, and How close are you to starting that plan where you actually have the food in-house?
Well, that would be fairly, I would say sometime this year. Right now, we're just trying to focus on, one goal at a time, which is the, getting the liquor license to where we could serve alcohol. And then we do, I just want to note, and I think you guys got a 3D model in your plan. I mean, we're in a, our plan is to build, the Moroccola jukeboxes with the chase lighting and all that stuff. Well, I don't think it's ever been done before that I have known yet, and I've kind of done some research, but we have some very creative people with us, and we're going to build one that's 15 feet wide and 12 feet tall, and I think that's going to be another showstopper, and